All right. Hey, everybody. On today's show, we have special guests, Crystal Lee Quibell. She describes herself as an aspiring author, a book coach, and host of her own radio show. And she also helps other writers connect with industry pros. So thanks for coming on today, Crystal.
Thank you for having me, Rob.
Yeah, I think we connected over Facebook. There was a message about education, and it was kind of interesting to see the different viewpoints on education, and it was a group that had a lot of entrepreneurs on it.
Yes.
And you posted something that really caught my eye about your educational experience, and I'm going to get to that. But before we get to your kind of history in education, I want to give the viewers a sense of where you are today. So if you can just describe what you're doing today as far as a business.
Yeah, I think right now for me, I'm in the middle of launching a writers group for teaching people, how to write, how to pitch and polish their work, becoming a freelancer. And I also have a essay being published in a book coming out in November. So I'm always writing, publishing, trying to find out everything I can about the industry and share it with other people to make their process easier. And I also host a weekly radio show called Literary Speaking, where I get to talk to, best-selling authors and literary agents and publishers themselves to find out the information right from the horse's mouth and share it with people.
Cool. That sounds great. And I'm going to get into those details, especially your radio show host. I think that's a fascinating career path that maybe students today are not even considering, right?
Yes.
So let's jump back a few years to high school, and maybe you can tell us what kind of student were you, grade wise, or just what kind of student were you in high school?
I was not a good student.
Okay. That's okay.
I didn't even enjoy school. I mean,
Yeah.
I love to learn now. That's the amazing thing that I wish somebody would have told me then, was that it's okay if it's not working out now. When you find your true passion and when you find things you're interested in as an adult, you can go and take that course, and you don't have to take science to take an art class. You can mix and match. And so for me, I really struggled because I had, ADD, which I think they call ADHD now, and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, which leads to perfectionism. And perfectionism is, tied in with procrastination, and just, I could never get my assignments the way I wanted them. I would freeze up in tests. I failed every test I ever took. And I failed grade 9 Greek geography 5 times. Like, I just kept taking it and it wasn't working. I tried tutors. They finally just said, here you go, because they were so frustrated with me.
Yeah, I think today's educational system, it's like you're picking from one menu, right?
Yeah.
And not the one size does not fit everybody.
It doesn't.
And it's so it's interesting that you had that experience, and now you're running a business. So yeah, so tell me a little bit more about your high school years, and then I guess when you're kind of at that point where now high school is going to be finished, how did you decide what to do next, considering that you weren't doing so great grade wise?
I think when it came to grade 12, we had a co-op program, so you could pick a job that you could go and get real life experience, and so I picked an insurance company because my friend's dad had worked there, and I kind of knew the lay of the land a little bit, and it seemed like a good opportunity, like something that would possibly make me money down the road. It wasn't like I was really passionate about insurance and property underwriting. But I got there, and I made it my job to be the best at it. And every job I've ever been given, whether it's flipping burgers or answering phones, I make it my job to be the best at that position. And it gained me some really valuable insights. And I thought, well, I guess I should just go to college and do this because I'm good at it. There was no guidance really to say, what do you like to do? It was more, okay, what's going to make you money at the end of the day?
It's all about the job, the career, and until like for me, it was, my children, so they started college last year, their first year. I have twins, so double whammy. And it was like, yeah, okay, what do you guys want to do? I don't know. How do you really know until you step a foot into a real job, start it, learn it, and see if it's something that you like, right? In order to pick a career in a college to train you for it, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, for me, I struggled all through high school because I loved being social, obviously. And for me, it was the 90s and there was a lot of like fun stuff happening and going on. And I just wanted to be a part of everything. And I really struggled though, because in the classroom, I felt alienated. I was like, please don't call on me. Please don't call on me. I don't understand this. I would go to teachers and I would say, like, I'm not being difficult. I really don't get it. And they would sit with me and spend the time. And then they just didn't have the time to keep going. So they're like, at this point, your parents are going to have to hire tutors or something to help you. And my parents just didn't have the funds then. It wasn't accessible. It wasn't available. So I just basically kind of slid under the system. And although I graduated with honors in my last year, it was because I was lucky enough to have that job placement. And that constituted for like 80% of my grade.
Okay. Well, it's good. At least you made it through that stage. And now, So now you're ready. So you graduated high school and now you go to college, or did you want to go to college, or what?
I think I wanted to just do what made my parents happy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids feel that pressure and they want to please their parents. And I wanted to be a writer even back then, but it wasn't something that anybody told me I could make money at or that I could take as a career. Somebody should have guided me maybe in towards journalism or something. Mm-hmm. But I signed up for the insurance course. I graduated when I was 17. And I was a baby. And a lot of people hate to hear that. But at 17, I drove away from my parents' house with a car full of belongings to go have an apartment and pay bills. And,
wow. So you really grew up quick.
Yeah, it was very surreal. And so I went with a best friend and she did really well. And I just continued to struggle. And at one point, I was in a class called political sciences and I didn't know what that had to do with insurance, but I showed up and I said to the teacher, I'm having a hard time understanding, the lectures and following the language. And I don't understand this book we've been given to read. And he said, well, highlight the portions that you don't understand and come to me and we'll discuss them after class. So I thought, fantastic. I'm going to get this one-on-one help. I brought the book to him and it was pink and yellow and green, all the highlighter colors. And I had separated them by subject. Like, I don't understand. The whole book was highlighted. I didn't understand a word of it. And he said to me, my son has a learning disability too. And I think maybe you should just accept that you're not going to get a college education and wow. You'll be lucky to just get a regular job and just do the best you can. But I don't think this is for you.
Wow.
And I was so I was blown away.
That must have been devastating. I mean, so here you are.
I just kept going.
Yeah, that's terrible. I mean, to me, my daughter has a condition. She has type 1 diabetes, right? And, I think I don't even call them disabilities, right? Because in my view, you're actually special, right? You have, you're extra special because if you have something that's different than everybody else, to me, you have an advantage because now you stand out, right? And when you're able to stand out from everybody else, exactly. In the averageness, right? Now you have the ability to do something with it and create something with it and be different. So it's a matter of, what are you going to do with those special powers, right? I call them. So anyway, yes, that must have been terrible. So now what do you do?
Well, I just, I tried to hire a tutor, but after 2 sessions, it was $10 an hour. And I was like, well, there's my grocery money for the month. You're living on ramen noodles. So for me, I just, it's not worth it to me. So I kept trying to go to classes and submit the work and do what I could. But by the second semester, I had run out of money and they were hounding me for tuition. My parents couldn't help. I kept applying for jobs. Nobody would hire me because I had no experience. And so I was kind of in this between a rock and a hard place. So I just ended up going home and I kind of just came home and said, like, I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm good at even. And so I moved home and brought all my stuff with me and started working at a Tim Hortons, which is like a Dunkin' Donuts, I guess, in the States.
Yeah.
And serving coffee.
Okay. And then how did you get into this business now? So now you're serving coffee and
yeah.
what made you decide to, so help me understand. Okay. So time frame wise, so now you're serving coffee.
Yeah.
How do you get to your business that you are today? And what did you have to do?
Oh my goodness. It was a process, but, I had a lot of hardships for many years and, I really ended up on the wrong side of life for a little while. I learned so much. And every time an opportunity came up to learn something, I took it. Whether somebody was like, I'm going to teach you, how to clean houses, I would do it. There's a job at a kiosk in the mall, I would take it. I took every opportunity that was given to me because I thought, well, it's a learning experience.
Right.
And, there's this meme going around the first 7 jobs. And when I think of mine, they're nothing related to what I'm actually doing now. But when I came to the point where I'm doing, where I'm writing and doing the radio show, it was like, I really love to talk to people. I am social. So I should pick a social career. Just like if you're passionate about makeup tutorials and watching those on YouTube, then maybe you should be a makeup artist.
Right.
It's putting the pieces together. And I think nobody's teaching our children that what are you passionate about? If you're really passionate about music, go into music. And you may not make a ton of money, but you'll be happy. And that's important.
And you don't need to be the next, pop idol, right?
No.
You can talk about music or just be in that area and have a business around it. So let's talk about your radio show. So you love writing and your show is about writing and helping other writers, right? Tell me more about how you developed that.
Well, I began writing my memoir a couple of years ago, and in doing so, you find out that it's a tough sell. So fiction's really easy to sell. So if you love writing fiction, you're set. But for nonfiction and memoir, you kind of have to build a platform. You have to be out on social media. You have to have a following. You have to have people that are guaranteed to buy your book. And I didn't. So I went to a writer's conference, and while I was there, everybody's in these lineups and they're pitching their books. You get 3 minutes to tell them, about a book you've been working on for years and hope that they are interested. And the common theme was, what's your platform? What are your numbers? What's your social media? And in this sort of day and age, we're able to connect on so many levels, given, YouTube, Facebook, all these kinds of things,
right,
that they expect you to at least know one of them and have them really, well done and consistent. And so while I was at the conference, I thought, I need to network. I need to make friends with people in the industry. I can't afford to be flying to New York and California every other week. I have 3 children. And so I thought, I'm going to do a radio show and I'll interview them and I'll get to know them and we'll become friends and I'll learn through that. And it's free. And at the same time, I'll be helping other people. And that I'm passionate about helping others. And so for me, it just kind of popped into my head while I'm at this conference. And I thought, I want to do this. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah. So you hit on something pretty key. So you mentioned it's free, right? So basically you found a topic that you loved and it was pretty much just your effort that you needed to put into it. It wasn't something where you needed to invest this huge amount of money, like college tuition, things of that nature, right? So it was just your time and effort and kind of a direction that you needed.
Exactly. And I think now more than ever, anyone can have a radio show, a podcast. You can have your own TV show on YouTube and be making money from the ads that are coming in on YouTube. There's a ton of girls doing makeup tutorials. I'm, 36 years old and I just learned how to do my makeup from a 15-year-old on YouTube.
Isn't that amazing? It's funny you say that because one of my key messages is about perspective. It doesn't matter how old you are. And this is what the beauty of this industry is, that it's all about perspective. So that 15-year-old, she's learning different new ways, and it's just because she's a teenager, and it looks nice or what have you, and she's your teacher. It doesn't matter how old you are, right? So
Exactly. And I love watching those videos and hair tutorials, and, I watch tutorials on everything. So that's one of the other things that I always am listening to podcasts. If I'm in the car, I mean, I love music, but if I'm going on a longer trip, I will definitely download a book or something, because I feel like you're always in a state of learning and growing.
yeah.
And I wish I would have known that when I was younger, and I would take in as much as I possibly could.
Right. Use the time wisely. I think when you're young, you have that opportunity where you do have a lot of time because you don't have the responsibilities of raising a family, paying the bills, mowing the lawn, all of that stuff. And it's funny you mentioned on the car ride, because my wife and I and the kids, we drove up to New York, and it was a 9-hour trip. So guess what I loaded guess what we listened to for 9 hours? It was 9 hours of podcasts from a variety of different entrepreneurs. My wife wanted to get it. But so use that time wisely and learn. And this is my message. It's all about self-learning, education. You can do anything. You just have to pick a spot and just go for it. So let me jump back to your radio show for a second. So I think many of the listeners probably want to know, so let's say you pick a topic, you start having these conversations and it's fun, but now how do you monetize it? How do you make money from this radio show?
Well, you can reach out to sponsors. So for me, for example, I would reach out to Writer's Digest and say, hey, do you guys want to sponsor my show? I'll feature a 30 to 60 second commercial ad in the middle of each and every show. I'll also promote your conferences, your magazine, and have your staff on as guests on a regular basis. So you can do that. You can also go on platforms like Blog Talk Radio. And when you download to there, you can select to have commercials played. They'll pay you for the commercials, just like on YouTube. You can also take your podcast, put it on YouTube, have it transcribed for like $5 on Fiverr, and then have ad revenue coming in from YouTube. You can also do ad revenue from Google Ads on your websites. There's a ton of ways to do that. And sponsorships are not as difficult as people think when it comes to, if you have a decent platform, they're interested. They want you to promote their products, and they want you, as long as it's in an alignment and it's, done with integrity and it's not in a sort of shady way. Love to sponsor things and have the message spread for them.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think that was the the scary part, I think, for a lot of people when they hear this. Say, how am I going to call this company, especially as a young person, and get them to sponsor me, right? And you mentioned technique, you mentioned, how to do it a certain way and make sure you're pitching to the right people. So it's not that it's out of the realm of possibility, it's just how you go about doing it, right?
Exactly. And I think too, for me especially, if somebody that is younger and they haven't had an education, or they're not going to continue with an education in college, and they approach me and they're professional and punctual and, very well spoken, I'm going to hire them over the person with the PhD, because I know how hard they're working and how much they're trying, and they're, it's all about presentation. So always to be mindful of your communication with people and how you're being perceived and coming across. You always want to be professional. Even if the person says, it's really casual here, you still want to have a level of professionalism and keep it, close and always show up on time. And just, reaching out is really simple. An email doesn't take very long to say, dear Mrs. So-and-so, my name is Brittany and I have this YouTube channel with 10,000 followers. I do regular makeup tutorials and I would love to feature your product. Would you possibly be interested in a sponsorship? Let me know if there's a date and time we could discuss this. I'm really looking forward to you. And, make a compliment about the product. Like, this is my, favorite shade of eyeshadow. We're using makeup as an example because it's easy. Right. But,
I don't wear makeup, so yeah. I think you hit on a really key point. Coming from a young person is actually even more impressive because, again, it gets to the fact of you're standing out from the rest of the pack. Exactly. So if you're young and you have that hustle and you put this together and it looks like you've been doing this for years, I think that's more impressive than somebody else that's even older that's been doing it for years. And it's just like, okay, yeah. So again, getting back to that perspective, and as a youth, you have so much power you don't even realize. So,
Exactly.
so cool. So you're making money with basically commercials and sponsorships. Is there any other, so it sounds like you have like multiple streams of income coming in. It's not
Always.
just one. Okay.
Always, always, always have multiple streams coming in. So, I have, freebies on my website that I give to people. And then later on, I will pitch them, I'm launching this program. It's a monthly writers group. It's a subscription month to month. So you can drop off anytime. You can join anytime, and you get enough people. And it doesn't have to be a crazy amount of money. For me, it's $50 a month to be in this writers club. And each person comes in and they leave. But if you get 100 of those people, you just figure out the revenue. It happens very quickly. Right. And my husband does the same thing. So it's always to have something, everybody's good at something, whether it's sportscasting, makeup, business, teaching people things on social media. There are so many immensely talented young people that are able to navigate the internet in a way that, there's a group of people that have never even touched a computer and they want to figure out how to start a blog, how to start a YouTube channel.
Right.
Do tutorials on anything and market them and package them and resell them.
Yeah. And one of the things I present is Snapchat, right? So the kids use Snapchat. They can teach other people how to do it so quickly. They have a different perspective. They know how to grow a following. They know how to not piss people off and send things that get reactions. Like, all these marketers and business people want to know how to do this, right? So, so tell me about, so if I decide to go down this path, it sounds very interesting. You have multiple sources of income. Is this something that somebody could have a full-time income from, or is this more like a side thing?
Absolutely. I mean, for me, my main passion is writing. But for writing, you don't get paid the way most people get paid. You write the book first, you sell it, you get an agent to represent, then it has to be sold to the publisher, and then you're going to get installment payments until it's actually available on the shelves. After that, you'll receive royalties based on your contract. So, you could write for 2 years and only get a $10,000 advance. So it's a lot, you have to have stuff on the go. So freelancing, submitting articles to people that pay, xojane.com, they really gear more towards, the 20-something crowd. So anybody approaching that or that has a story from their late teens that goes to that magazine, they pay $50 an article. So you always want to kind of have something going and multiple things coming in at the same time. So if something happens and God forbid you're too sick to run, your mainstream, you still have all these little things trickling in all the time. You've got an ebook for sale on your website and it's just an automatic download, click funnel. They can get it. It can go into your bank account and there's literally no effort on your part.
Yeah. So while you're sleeping, basically, you could still be collecting an income, which is a totally different mind shift to, I think, what everybody is traditionally going down when they're going to college. You're getting set for that 9-to-5 single income job. And it's like, wow, wait, I can actually make money without trading time. I can trade information for money, which is mind-blowing to a lot of people. So so now tell me about the effort and the type of lifestyle that you have running this business. Is this something where you're working 20 hours a day or, help us understand what it takes to kind of do this?
I have not worked all summer.
Wow. That's a nice vacation.
Exactly. But from September until Christmas, I always take frequent breaks. I work a few hours per day. That's it. I don't overstretch. I may have one day when I'm booking interviews where it's consistently, I'm going from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., but that's really rare, maybe once every 6 months.
Okay.
For the most part, I think we're glorifying busy. We're glorifying the hustle to kids. And I think the message is that you can work efficiently and effectively for 4 hours in the morning and be done for the rest of the day. You shut everything out, get to work.
So and then work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. I don't understand these, multimillionaires that talk about, I never stop working. I'm always working and I never take a break and I don't take vacations. Well, what's the fun in that? How is that inspiring anybody? I want to see the world and I want to do all these things. So for me, I'm a scheduler now and I sit down and I map out, the next 3 months. So every Sunday night for 2 hours, I schedule my social media. Every Thursday, I contact people for interviews. Fridays, I send out a couple light emails for sponsorships and things like that, just to touch base and say, would you be interested? Here's my info. Here are my stats. You really have to, if you organize your time wisely, you'll reap the benefits. And nobody taught me that in high school, how to organize my time and be efficient and effective.
So these were all things you just found out, trial and error. And there's also a lot of new tools and software that automate a lot of this stuff. And
Yeah.
You don't know how to write code, do you? Or you're not, or how technical are you?
I'm like zip for technical. Yeah. No, and that's another thing, I hire that stuff out. I still teach myself the basics so I can handle it. But now I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to hire out because I need more time to work on my stuff and less time working on how to figure out why this image is shifting to the left on WordPress.
Right. So it's okay, where you want to spend your time, and do you want to learn it? Is it worth your time, basically? And is your time more better spent doing something else, right?
Exactly.
Once you get to the point you are, I guess you can, but you've started out kind of doing everything your own, and now you have the ability, because of your income streams, to hire other people to kind of do certain things and maybe take more time off or do.
Exactly. But it does take work. I mean, there were years where I would be crying at my desk and thinking, like, when's my break going to come? Even when I started my podcast, I started it last October. And the first time there was 2 live listeners and maybe 100 downloads within a couple of weeks. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm tanking so hard. What am I doing? And then within 5 months, there's over 10,000 downloads per episode. People are emailing me, just a couple, it starts slow at first.
Right.
And I realized, we're in this sort of industry everywhere, actually, where we expect the work to come easily in the beginning. We want the business that's been building for 10 years in the first year, and that's not going to happen. You have to be consistent.
Well, I mean, if you think about the traditional path of going to college, you're in college for 4, maybe 6 years. It's kind of on average now.
Yeah.
And then you're starting out with a job and kind of climbing the corporate ladder. So if you look at the amount of time, even if it did take 4 years to build the business that you're at now, to me, that's still a better route to go, even if nothing happened for the first 1 or 2 years.
Exactly. And I think, there's a great power in the internet and using social media to connect with people of all walks of life. And, I have a friend that he struggled as well. And, school wasn't his favorite thing. And he became friends with Oprah through Twitter. So, things can happen that people don't realize. And everything you're putting out there is out there forever, whether you delete it or not. There's always tracking websites that keep track of stuff. So I always tell people too, be very mindful of what you post, the energy you're putting out there. Don't be afraid to approach anyone, no matter how famous they are. I mean, he started talking to Oprah, for goodness sake. She's one of the most powerful women in the country. So it really goes to show that you can connect with people and opportunities can present themselves that you have no idea are out there if you don't try.
Yeah, awesome. So listen, your story is fascinating. It sounds like you've really built a nice business there. And just in closing, I want to have you tell the listeners where they can reach you and see all your great work. But also, if you can give just, I guess, if you were to give one piece of advice to a high school student who is sitting there now trying to decide what they want to do, and maybe they're not interested in going down the college path, what would you tell them?
I would say, for sure, find your passion. What are you most passionate about? If you're passionate about sports, what can you do to get involved in sports teams? Can you go work with a local sports team and then move up to something on a national level? If it's makeup, you need to start doing tutorials and putting yourself out there. This is the best time for somebody that's young to get on social media and build something phenomenal based on what they like to do. You don't have to go to college and get a degree that's going to hang on your wall and is never going to get you a job. I'm not anti-college, but I'm also saying to kids, you don't have to. My husband is a self-made millionaire by the time he was 30 and never graduated high school. anything is possible. And he just went with what he was passionate about, and he began making money at it because he worked really hard in the beginning, when the internet began and we were just starting. He learned everything he could to make a business. For me, I learned everything I could about writing and publishing, and now, I make all these connections and I can make money. So really find out what lights you up, what gets you excited, what makes you kind of breathy and, talk really fast to your parents about it. And those are the things that you should be pursuing. If you're into surfing, go into learning surfing techniques or teaching surfing classes, anything like that. There's so many options. And I think that's the message that they're not sharing with anyone in high school. And I don't remember hearing it, was find what you're passionate about and go for it. You're going to get a lot of naysayers. You're definitely going to have people that, will say you have to get a trade or something reliable. But some of the most successful people I know have never gone to college. They've built these immense careers based on their passion, what they're excited about. And so I think anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And, I was a single teen mother on welfare at one time. Now, I live in a beautiful home with my husband and 3 kids, and, I'm able to make 6 figures a year with my husband. So anything is possible.
That's awesome. I love the message about it's not what you know, it's about what you love, right? The passion that you speak of.
Yeah.
And that passion will take you anywhere, and it'll actually self-drive yourself because you're doing something that you love, and it's just going to turn into beautiful things. So Crystal Lee, thanks a lot for coming on today. Where can everybody find you on the internet?
Everybody can find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Crystal Lee Quibell. I'm on Instagram at Writer Crystal, all lowercase. And my website is just crystalleequibell.com. And if anybody ever has any questions or kind of needs a little, kick in the pants, like some support, what should I do? I'm always happy to help. So just contact me, message me. I'm always, always, always happy to really encourage somebody to find their passion.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
Okay.